Welcome back to Mind Clarity, a space where we don't just listen, we awaken, we question, and we transform the way we see ourselves and the world around us. If you're someone who's ready to break free from old conditioning, expand your thinking, and step into a life of true inner peace and limitless potential, then you're exactly where you need to be. And if you haven't already, consider becoming a member of Mind Clarity, because this journey isn't just about watching, it's about evolving together. What if everything you believe about your life isn't actually yours? What if your fears, your limits, even your definition of success were quietly handed to you before you ever had the chance to question them? Imagine living a life where nothing controls you, not opinions, not outcomes, not even your own past conditioning. Because the truth is, the moment you open your mind and release your attachments, you don't just change your thinking, you change your entire reality. So much of who you think you are was shaped long before you ever had the chance to question it. Most of your choices were quietly decided through a kind of conditioning that, while often well-meaning, was designed to help you fit into the world of your caregivers. You were guided, sometimes gently, sometimes firmly, into a way of thinking, believing, and behaving that aligned with your environment. And if you're honest, you'll see that many of your beliefs about life, religion, appearance, and even the way you speak were not truly chosen by you, but inherited from the culture you were born into. There may have been moments where you were encouraged to think freely, to explore ideas, to be curious, but those moments were often limited. The deeper structure of your identity was still shaped by what your family, your community, and your traditions considered right. And whenever you pushed too far outside those boundaries, you probably felt resistance. Maybe it came in the form of correction, disapproval, or subtle pressure to return to what was familiar. You were reminded, directly or indirectly, that fitting in mattered more than questioning the system. Think about it. If you were raised in one religious household, it's unlikely you were taught to deeply honor a completely different belief system with the same level of openness. If your family held strong political views, you probably weren't encouraged to explore the opposite side with equal curiosity. These patterns were passed down, often without question, from generation to generation. And while our ancestors may have had their reasons for holding tightly to their perspectives, the world they lived in was very different from the one we live in today. Today, we are surrounded by more people, more ideas, and more possibilities than ever before. Holding on to rigid, closed ways of thinking simply doesn't serve us anymore. It creates division, limits growth, and blocks the kind of understanding that the modern world requires. That's why it's so important to begin opening your mind, to allow yourself to see beyond the narrow frameworks you were given. Refuse to let yourself be boxed into a single way of thinking. Don't accept labels that limit your perspective. And most importantly, don't allow pessimism to take root in your mind. Staying open to ideas, to possibilities, to the unknown, while not clinging too tightly to any single belief, might be one of the most powerful ways to contribute not just to your own peace, but to the peace of the world around you. The truth is, none of us knows enough to justify being pessimistic. Take a moment to observe something as simple as a tiny green sprout pushing its way out of a seed. When you really allow yourself to feel the wonder of that moment, you realize how little we actually understand. There's a kind of mystery in life that no amount of knowledge has been able to fully explain. As the poet Rumi once suggested, it's wiser to let go of the need to be clever and instead embrace a sense of awe. That small sprout is the beginning of life itself, and yet no one can fully explain what causes it to emerge. What is that invisible force that sparks life into existence? What created the awareness that allows you to observe it? What is consciousness really? The deeper you think about these questions, the more you realize how endless they are and how little we truly know. Consider this. Humans have managed to send machines to Mars and control them from millions of miles away. Signals travel across space, guiding movements with incredible precision, and we celebrate these achievements as extraordinary and they are. But in the scale of the universe, moving a small device on a nearby planet is almost insignificant. It's like shifting a grain of dust on an endless surface. There are billions of stars, countless planets, and entire galaxies beyond our comprehension. The universe stretches beyond anything we can fully grasp, and if you try to imagine its limits, you're immediately faced with questions that don't have clear answers. If there were an edge, what would be beyond it? And who or what would define that boundary? Even within our own world, there are mysteries we cannot explain. A human heart begins to beat inside a mother's womb just weeks after conception. Life starts unfolding in ways that remain largely unexplained, even with all our scientific advancements. When you really compare what we know to what exists to be known, we are still at the very beginning, like embryos in the grand scale of understanding. So how can anyone be certain enough to be negative about life? How can someone claim to know enough to dismiss possibilities? When you encounter people who insist there is only one correct way to think, one correct path to follow, remember how little any of us truly understands. Resist the pull towards certainty that closes the mind. Resist the urge to become cynical. Think about how someone living just 200 years ago would react if they could see the world today. Airplanes flying across continents, electricity powering entire cities, cars moving at incredible speeds, devices connecting people instantly across the globe. All of this would seem impossible to them. Yet it exists now because someone, at some point, chose to think differently, to stay open instead of dismissive. Progress has always come from curiosity, from imagination, from the willingness to question what seems fixed. It comes from people who refuse to accept that things must stay the way they are, and that same potential exists within you. So instead of holding tightly to what you've been told is true, allow yourself to explore. Instead of assuming you already know, stay curious. And instead of choosing pessimism, choose wonder. Because in a universe this vast, this mysterious, and this full of unknowns, the most powerful mindset you can have is one that remains open. Growth and creativity only come alive when your mind is open enough to imagine what doesn't yet exist. Think about your future for a moment. Really think about it. Can you imagine sending a message back in time? Or humans learning to travel without machines? Or communicating without words? What about breaking down your physical form and appearing somewhere else in the universe? Or creating life from nothing but an image? These ideas may sound unbelievable today, but every breakthrough once sounded just as impossible before it became real. An open mind is what makes exploration possible. It gives you the freedom to question, to imagine, and to create. A closed mind, on the other hand, shuts the door on all of that. It keeps you stuck in what already exists and blocks anything new from entering. If humanity had always insisted on doing things the same way, progress would have never happened. Everything you see today, the technology, the discoveries, the advancements, exists because someone dared to think differently. The same principle applies to your own life. Real transformation, the kind that feels like a miracle, begins the moment you allow yourself to believe in more than what you've been told is possible. This miracle mindset starts with refusing to lower your expectations about what you can create. As Michelangelo once implied, the real danger isn't aiming too high and missing. It's aiming too low and settling for less than what you're capable of. Inside you, there's a kind of inner light, something that doesn't fade no matter what you've been through. Think of it like a steady flame that keeps burning, even when circumstances try to dim it. That flame represents your ability to create change, to bring something new into your life, to experience what feels like the impossible becoming real. When people experience extraordinary shifts, like sudden healing or overcoming situations that seemed hopeless, it's not random. It usually comes after a deep internal change. They shift the way they see themselves and the world. They rewrite their inner agreement about what is real and what is possible. To experience that kind of transformation, you have to begin seeing yourself as capable of it. If all things are possible through a higher power, then what exactly is excluded from that? Nothing. Having an open mind isn't just about ideas, it's about how you live. It means choosing peace over conflict, love over fear, forgiveness over resentment. It means respecting life, being generous, and most importantly, seeing yourself as someone who can achieve what you imagine in your heart and mind. Every principle that has ever allowed a miracle to happen still exists today. Those laws haven't disappeared. The same energy that created those outcomes is still present, and it's within you as well. But it only works when you truly accept it as part of who you are. Your thoughts play a powerful role in shaping your reality. Whatever you consistently focus on begins to grow. If your thinking is filled with doubt and limitation, your actions will follow that pattern, and you'll start to notice proof of those limitations everywhere. But if you choose, because it is a choice, to keep your mind open, you activate a completely different kind of energy. You begin to act in alignment with possibility, and in doing so, you become both the creator and receiver of change in your life. When your perspective shifts, everything around you begins to look different. You start to notice wonder in places you once ignored. You begin to feel what it means when it's said that every part of existence holds something extraordinary. Being open to everything truly means exactly that. No exceptions. The next time you hear something that goes against what you've always believed, don't immediately reject it. Instead of saying, "That's impossible," try saying, "I've never thought about it that way before." Give yourself permission to consider it. Stay curious, even when something sounds strange or unrealistic. Listen to new ideas, even the ones that seem far-fetched. Whether it's alternative healing methods, unusual scientific theories, or concepts that challenge your understanding of reality, approach them with curiosity instead of judgment. Let go of the need to always be right based on what you were taught. Open your mind to possibilities, because your beliefs shape your experience more than you realize. If you believe something cannot happen, you will act in ways that make sure it doesn't. And if you believe something is possible, you'll naturally move in a direction that allows it to unfold. Your internal agreement with reality determines the results you see in your life. If you're convinced that success, creativity, wealth, or recognition isn't meant for you, that belief will quietly guide your actions and keep those things out of reach. But the moment you begin to question those limitations, the moment you allow yourself to consider a different outcome, everything starts to shift. Your actions change, your energy changes, and eventually your results begin to change as well. The truth is, what you allow yourself to believe will always shape what you're able to experience. So choose to believe in more, choose to stay open, and give yourself the chance to create something far beyond what you once thought was possible. What you often end up getting from all your effort is simply the satisfaction of proving yourself right. When there's a strong need to be right, you stay locked into the patterns you were taught, the same beliefs, the same expectations, the same limited view of how life works. You assume that because things have always been a certain way, they will continue that way forever. And that assumption quietly blocks growth. Letting go of this pattern begins with understanding two powerful ideas. First, keep your mind open to everything. Second, don't cling to anything. Most of the struggle people experience comes from attachment. The need to always be correct, the urge to control outcomes, the desire to hold on to people or possessions, or to be seen as better than others. These are all forms of attachment, and every attachment creates tension. When your mind is truly open, it naturally resists these attachments, and in doing so, it creates space for peace and real success to enter your life. But to reach that point, you have to shift how you see yourself. If you define yourself only by your body, your achievements, or what you own, then your ego will dominate your decisions. It will constantly seek validation, control, and superiority. But when you begin to step back from that identity, something changes. You start to connect with a deeper part of yourself, the part that simply observes. From that perspective, you can witness your thoughts, your actions, and your experiences without being controlled by them. You become more aware, more calm, and more grounded. This deeper part of you understands that attachments are illusions. Your true nature is not limited. It's not dependent on external things to feel complete. Peace and fulfillment are not something you get from the outside world. They are something you generate within yourself. When your thoughts are calm and centered, your emotions follow, and that energy carries into every situation you face. On the other hand, if you're constantly attached to outcomes, if you feel like you must have something in order to feel okay, you'll find yourself always chasing, always striving, but never truly arriving. There will always be another condition, another requirement, another expectation standing between you and peace. But here's the important part. You can still have desires without being attached to them. You can hold a clear vision of what you want to create while staying detached from how and when it happens. That balance is where real power lies. There's an idea that may sound contradictory at first. Having complete patience actually leads to immediate results. What it really means is this. When you are fully certain that what you desire will come at the right time, you stop feeling anxious about it. That certainty creates a sense of calm right now. And that calmness is the immediate reward. When you release the need to control the outcome, you experience peace in the present moment. And from that state, things begin to align more naturally. What you believe in with clarity and confidence eventually shows up, but without the stress and pressure that usually comes with trying to force it. Imagine being given a choice between two powerful options. With one, you could instantly receive anything you want in the physical world. With the other, you would gain a deep, unshakable sense of peace for the rest of your life, no matter what happens around you. Which would you choose? If you choose peace, then you already have access to it. It comes from adopting a mindset that stays open but unattached. You allow life to flow as it will. You appreciate what comes. You let go of what goes, and you don't tie your happiness to any specific outcome. This doesn't mean you stop caring or stop creating. It simply means you stop depending on external things to define your inner state. You enjoy experiences, you pursue your goals, but you don't lose yourself in them. In the end, true freedom comes from this balance. Being open allows you to grow, to explore, and to create. Letting go of attachment allows you to stay at peace, regardless of what happens. And when you bring these two together, you step into a way of living where success and fulfillment are no longer something you chase, they become something you naturally embody. When you really begin to understand this idea, you start to notice how deeply attachment is woven into almost every part of life. It's not just about big things like success, relationships, or money. It shows up in small, subtle ways too. The need for someone to respond a certain way, the expectation that things should go according to your plan, the discomfort when reality doesn't match your preferences. All of this creates resistance inside you, and that resistance is what disturbs your peace. The strange thing is, most people believe that attachment gives them control, but in reality, it does the opposite. The more attached you are, the more fragile your emotional state becomes. Your mood depends on outcomes, your sense of worth depends on validation, and your peace depends on conditions being perfect. That's a very unstable way to live, because life is constantly changing. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop depending. You can love someone deeply without needing them to behave in a certain way to feel okay. You can pursue success without tying your identity to the result. You can want something strongly while still being at peace if it doesn't arrive immediately. This is a very different way of living, and at first it can feel unfamiliar because most people are conditioned to do the opposite. When you let go of attachment, you actually become more powerful, not less. Your actions become clearer because they are no longer driven by fear or desperation. You make decisions from a place of calm instead of urgency. And interestingly, this is often when things begin to flow more easily into your life. Not because you're forcing them, but because you're no longer blocking them with tension and resistance. There's also a deeper layer to this. When you stop identifying only with your ego, the part of you that constantly wants to prove, control, and compare, you begin to experience life from a wider perspective. You start to see that you are not just your thoughts, your body, or your achievements. There is an awareness behind all of that, something steady and unaffected by external changes. From that place, you begin to understand that peace isn't something you chase, it's something you return to. It's already within you, but it gets covered up by noise, expectations, and attachments. The more you release those layers, the more natural peace feels. And this is where manifestation or creation takes on a completely different meaning. Instead of trying to force outcomes, you begin aligning with them. Instead of chasing, you start allowing. You hold a clear intention, but you don't grip it tightly. You trust the process without needing to constantly check or control it. That kind of trust creates a completely different experience of life. You also become more open to possibilities you may have previously rejected. When you're not locked into needing things to happen a certain way, you become more flexible. Opportunities can come from unexpected directions. Solutions can appear in ways you didn't predict, and life feels less rigid and more alive. Over time, this way of thinking builds a kind of quiet confidence. Not the loud, ego-driven confidence that needs to prove itself, but a calm inner knowing that whatever happens, you'll be okay. And that feeling alone changes everything. Everything comes down to this simple yet life-changing realization. You are not here to live a life defined by limits, fear, or inherited beliefs. You are here to experience the full depth of your own limitless nature. The moment you begin to open your mind and release your attachments, something powerful shifts within you. You stop chasing validation, stop needing control, and stop tying your peace to outcomes that were never meant to define you. Instead, you step into a state of quiet certainty where you trust life without needing to force it, where you desire without becoming dependent, and where you create without fear of loss. This is where true freedom lives, not in having everything, but in needing nothing to feel complete. When you are no longer attached, you are no longer controlled. And when you are no longer controlled, you become the creator of your own experience. You begin to see that every thought you hold, every belief you accept, and every perspective you choose is shaping the reality you live in. And in that awareness, you realize something extraordinary, that the same energy that has ever created a miracle, transformed a life, or expanded human possibility is already within you. It has always been there, waiting for you to trust it, to align with it, and to allow it to express through you. So walk forward with an open mind, free from the weight of needing to be right, needing to hold on, or needing life to unfold in a specific way. Let life move, let things come and go, and remain grounded in the one thing that cannot be taken from you, your inner peace. Because when you truly understand this, you don't just change your life, you transcend it.